Anand Rangnathan, what do you make of this latest instance of bigotry, unrestrained, unequivocal bigotry?
Yes, good evening, Rahul. It is indeed a terribly sad day. Harsha is yet another Hindu name lost in the mist of victimhood and propaganda. But before Harsha, there was Kishan. Before Kishan, there was Kamlesh. And before Kamlesh, there were thousands whose names don't even register in our minds because they have been clouded with selectivity. And because all these people have worked for Hindu causes, they have systematically been dehumanized. So if they are RSS workers or VHP workers or Bajrang Dal workers, their lives don't count at all. Their deaths are explained away, that this was a natural cause going to happen anyway. And so we maintain silence on more than 190 Muslim mob hate attacks on Hindus, Dalits and non-Dalits over the past 2.5 years, Rahul, including Bharat Yadav, who was lynched after being called a kafir, including in Ranchi, where a Muslim mob segregated bus passengers based on their religion before wanting to set it on fire, including Dalit Gangaram, who was lynched because he dared to file a police complaint when his daughter was abducted, including breaking Ambedkar statue, thrashing Dalit families after they objected to a Dalit girl, Sarita, being assaulted by a Muslim, including nearly lynching a Dalit Jayanti Bhatti for daring to wear a Pathan suit, including going on a murderous rampage in Bangalore over alleged blasphemy by Dalit Nitin. That particular instance, you may recall, Rahul, took a backseat to the propaganda of Muslims joining hands and forming a ring around a Hindu temple to save it miraculously. None of these attacks elicit any outrage. I'll tell you something else that hasn't elicited any outrage. The statement recently by Karnataka Congress leader Mukarram Khan, who said, and I quote him, "Those who stop Muslim girls from wearing hijab will be chopped to pieces," unquote. And a few days later, Harsha is indeed chopped to pieces, and he did no such thing as stopping anyone from wearing a hijab. His crime was to ask for a uniform dress code. Rahul, you have to understand, secularism cannot win over Sharia. It stands no chance. This is an argument any one of us cannot win because we are man, not God. And God or Allah has specifically prescribed a dress code, 2431, 3359. God or Allah has specifically ordered that those who abuse Allah and His Messenger, Allah has cursed them in this world and the hereafter and prepared for them a humiliating punishment, 3357. And that the penalty for those who wage war against Allah is that they be killed or crucified, 533. We need to understand, anyone who is perceived to have abused Allah or His Messenger or prevented His order from being followed will sooner or later meet the fate of Kamlesh Tiwari or Samuel Pati or Kishan or Harsha. It may take a week, a month, a year, a decade, but it will happen, Rahul. The second thing quickly we need to understand, just 20 seconds, is that it is the moderate Muslim who perennially plays the victim card and cushions the extremists. They snare the fundamentalists but spare the fundamentals. The irony is that they want non-believers against whom so much violence has been ordered to feel good about it and not be fearful. Isn't that nice? The holy book, Rahul, grabs the neck of the believer and of the non-believer severs it.
This is a debate. Yeah, okay, Dr. Ranganathan, yeah, you want to make a point? I want to bring in Saida Falak as well as Tausif Ahmed. There was a reference to the AIMM also. Yes, Dr. Ranganathan.
No, Rahul, I wanted to, all of us, with due respect, to get back to the debate.
Yeah.
And I wanted to highlight one point that my good friend Sanjay Jha made, which is he asked a rhetorical question. Who was Pehlu Khan? Who was Akhlaq? So please bear with me for 2 minutes, if you will. You know, the recent Delhi riots, 1,300 people were arrested, and they included roughly equal number of Hindus and Muslims. Both Hindus and Muslims took part, and both Hindus and Muslims lost their lives. And yet, you know it, Rahul, in the age of social media 24/7 videography, there were those who believed that Hindus weren't victim at all, that Ratan Lal wasn't stoned and shot, that Dilbar wasn't hacked and burnt alive, that Vinod wasn't lynched because his bike sported a Jai Shri Ram sticker, that temples weren't attacked and desecrated, that Arun Public School wasn't burnt to the ground, that Rahul Thakur wasn't shot to death, that acid and stones and petrol bombs weren't thrown from Tahir Hussein's roof, that Santosh didn't allow her 2 grandchildren from the window of her house that was set on fire, that Hindu Dalits Deepak and Lala weren't dragged and beaten by a bloodthirsty mob, that Hindu Dalit Shobhu Ram's furniture shop wasn't reduced to ashes, that Hindu Dalit Dinesh Khatek wasn't cornered and lynched. that Vivek's skull wasn't drilled into by a Muslim mob, that Ankit wasn't stabbed 50 times after he was already dead. There has been a concerted attempt to turn that riot into a pogrom. Facts painted a different picture. This isn't some ancient Indian history that rent-a-penny leftist historians can airbrush. This happened right before our very eyes, Rahul. You'd have to gouge them out first if your vile propaganda is to succeed. And finally, 20 seconds. Sanjay, my good friend, you talked of Pehlu Khan and Akhlaq. Here's a question that I pose not only to you, but to every panelist, including the BJP spokesperson. Who were Neelima, Jyoti, Prema, Jeevi, Devkala, Zaver, Mittal, Neeta, Harshad, Pratasya, Neeru, Chaya, Chirag, Sudha, Mala, Arvind, Umakant, Sadashiv, Mani, Jaisal, Mansukh, Rati, Jamna, Shanta, Indira, Rajesh, Sheila, Manjula, Champa, Diwali, Lalita, Mangu, Pralad, Bhimji, Lakhu, Vithal, Sailesh, Amrut, Narendra, Raman. Who were they? Any panelist can answer. Who were these names?
Sanjay Jha.
Names. Answer.
I'll answer you.
Sanjay
I'll answer you, Anand.
I'll
You
say
rattled
they were
50
Indians.
names. You rattled off 50 names. My
But-
answer will come by. My answer comes with only one simple question. Do you know who said "Desh ke gaddaron ko goli maro"? Who said?
This is exactly what I'm saying, viewers. This is exactly what I'm saying. There is an over-investment. Now, 1 minute.
Seconds. I need to tell every panelist who these names were. These were the 54 names who were burnt alive in Godhra, in S6 coach. Do we know even single name? BJP, right wing, left, non-way. No one knows their names. No one.